So this is something that I think a lot of us was predicting, and for good reasons actually. This particular news and information has been literally been roaming around the internet like wildfire. It is nuts. It's like, it started off as like a small little rumor saying that, oh, Nintendo's working on another version of the Nintendo Switch. And then the last 6 months, it's been growing like wildfire. It was nuts. You have like people spreading rumors talking about the so-called Switch Mini. Then you have companies not only talking about it, but revealing accessories that will be compatible for the Switch Mini. And it was like, okay, Nintendo, why didn't you just reveal it at E3? That would have been the perfect time to reveal it. But I think what it is that Nintendo wanted to do more of just showing games rather than just like showing the system itself and stuff like that, because the system would overshadow the majority of the game that they were going to have released and stuff like that. So it's probably a good thing they didn't showcase it, but at the same time, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go about and just say, hey, we have a new feature that's coming out, the Nintendo Lite. Nintendo Switch Lite. So, yeah, that's what it's called. Originally, everyone thought it was going to call the Nintendo Switch Mini. Instead, it's just the Nintendo Switch Lite, which, oh well, whatever. So, you know, a lot of stuff that was going on in terms of rumors and speculations and stuff, turns out they were all 100% true, except for like one small detail, but we will talk about that as we continue on talking about it. So, the biggest thing, and I think this is the one that most people know of for a fact, is that this is going to be a more compact version compared to the original Switch. Now, the screen size is 5.5 inches opposed to the 6.2 inch that the standard model had. According to what it says here, it has the 720p screen resolution, so obviously it's not going to have a full 1080p screen resolution like I thought it was going to have. But then again, the Nintendo Switch, as it is, when it goes from the console port to the handheld mode, the resolution does kind of go into a decreased style. Not a drastic one from what I can tell, but from some people's opinion, there is a noticeable difference. And with the handheld mode, obviously it's going to stick with 720. So, now with that being said, there was a whole bunch of stuff that was talked about when it comes to this particular system. Obviously, one of the biggest ones is that it is specifically designed to be a handheld-only device. Now, of course, rumors were saying that this was going to be a dockless system, and personally, in my personal opinion, I thought that it would probably be better, instead of it being a dockless system, it was a bundle that didn't come with the dock. You know, because the main purpose of this newer model is to lower the cost to where that way customers would be more encouraged to buy the Switch, obviously. You know, there's a lot of people who wants to buy the Switch right now, including myself, but the price of $300 is relatively steep. And so, if you remove the dock portion of it, which if you look online right now from either Amazon or Walmart, they actually cost right around $70 to $75 with tax and all. So, needless to say, it's a pretty expensive device when you think about it. But removing that would actually lower the cost altogether. So I figured, instead of it having with the dock, you can choose to purchase the Switch without the dock. And then that way, you know, you can buy the dock later on. At the same time, I also thought this is actually more of a free roam chance, to where that way people who don't want to have the dock version and they just want to stick to the handheld version, they can actually be able to purchase this without having the dock necessary. But unfortunately, it looks like Nintendo's going to stick with the handheld only part and just be like, this is handheld only Switch. And personally, I don't think that was a great idea, in my personal opinion. I think this is like one of the last decisions that you should ever do, and that's changing what made the Switch so likable to everyone. And they even pointed it out in their promotional ad for the Switch Lite, that the Switch itself is so compatible. You go from the console to handheld, it's very easy to link up with other Switches and stuff, and this makes sense. But now that that's been removed, obviously it's going to be a very limited system in terms of its uses. One of them obviously being the fact that it will not be able to work on a television, or should I say be docked. Instead, it's just a handheld only. Now, of course, you can't necessarily link it up like you could, like in most commercials where they show two different Nintendo Switches, where the screen resolution, where the screen themselves is adjusted differently, and they're able to play little puzzles and games and stuff like that using the Switch screen itself. But in a sense, this is not a completely counter customer merchandise. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not anti-consumer. We'll put it that way. It's not completely anti-consumer. Obviously the Switch will work with most games. Obviously, yes, it will work with Breath of the Wild. And for those that are wondering, yes, Grover's here. He's whining. I didn't want to let him go. I have to hold him to keep an eye on him and stuff. But anyway, that's what I was saying. It will support Breath of the Wild. It will support Mario Odyssey. It will support the majority of the games that comes out for the Nintendo Switch, which is a good thing. But they've also stated that if you wanted to play games like the 1-2 Switch, or Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, stuff like that, you will, however, have to have the separate Joy-Cons as well as the Pokeball Plus thing. And the reason is, for a large amount of reasons, obviously to reduce cost of the merchandise of the product itself. Technically, the Switch handheld is one whole device. One complete whole device. And that means the Joy-Cons can't be removed. They are singularly attached to the system itself. So if you want to play 1-2 Switch, which very few people would want to, but if you want to, it is able to be played on the Switch Lite, you have to actually have a separate Joy-Con set in order to play it. And that makes sense. It's okay, Grover. It's okay. Now, of course, that being said, obviously, it will still be able to play the majority of Switch games, so it's not completely anti-consumer in terms of what it's meant to be. It is, after all, meant for two reasons. It's to be priced lower to where customers will be easily persuaded to want to purchase it, and it is obviously designed for people who are always on the go. Meaning that people who have no time to sit down on a couch, they're always moving, they're always going to places and stuff like that. The Switch Lite is designated for those customers only. So there is an audience, so it makes sense for why Nintendo wanted to make this system the way it is. It just, to me, you take away the main functionality that most customers, like myself, liked about the Switch. And here's the thing, they're not saying they're making, let me get my wording right. They're not saying that they're going to stop making the regular standard model of the Switch. They're going to keep making it, obviously. It's just, they're making the Switch Lite as a more practical item that most customers would probably be more persuaded of wanting to buy. Now, there's a lot of people online that are actually talking about this. Some that are actually, well, positive, actually. Some are looking at the fact that since technically the Switch is a very expensive product, they're afraid of taking the Switch out with them. And so instead, having the Switch Lite is more of a more affordable item to want to go ahead and use and stuff. That way you have the standard Switch that stays at home, but you have the Switch Lite to where you can take with you and everything like that. And that's an easy argument that's very understandable fact. You do have that piece of equipment, and it is very pricey. In fact, should that thing break, God forbid that ever happen, should that thing break, you're pretty much out that one important device needed in order to run the Switch. that's because it's the main system itself. So if that breaks, you're pretty much SOL, screwed out of luck. So that's very understandable, and it's a very easy argument to make and everything. So it will still have the same functionalities like the regular Switch has. It will still have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and all that stuff. It will still be able to play games like Smash Brothers and any other particular multiplayer game that's out there today. It's easily something that anyone can grab. Is it something that I want? Obviously not. I'm more of a console guy. The only reason why I like the Switch so much is that it's something that I can have with me, and I can still get my console experience either way, you know? It's like I still can have my console game, but if I'm out and about, I can still take that with me anywhere I go. I don't necessarily have to have it stapled here. I can have it with me anytime I want to. So obviously the standard model is going to be something that I'm going to stick with, but there are going to be millions of other customers, millions of other gamers who actually want to purchase the Nintendo Switch Lite. And this makes sense, so I'm not going to argue about it. I think it's a pretty good idea when you look at it from a consumer aspect, when you think about the price-wise, when you think about the text and specs and stuff like that. But one of the biggest rumors that I heard was that it was going to be more powerful than the previous Switch model. Now, in terms of like how it looks and what I'm reading in terms of specs, it doesn't sound like it's more powerful. If nothing else, it sounds like it's more compatible now, and less functionalities and stuff like that that is needed. Like for example, the Joy-Con motion control things is not on the Switch Lite, obviously. The fact that the Joy-Cons are literally part of the main system itself, that's another thing. You don't have to worry about having multiple functionalities of the Switch itself. Instead, remove those, make the Joy-Cons permanent to the system itself. You're reducing costs overall, so it makes sense for that. So to hear the rumor saying that this is supposed to be a more powerful version doesn't sound like it is. It may be, maybe it might have a more powerful battery life. That has not been revealed yet right now. But in terms of like the Switch itself, it's not really stronger. It sounds like it's still pretty much the same as the original, just without the motion control sensors and the fact that it's completely handheld only. So there you go. Depending on who you are, this may be something that you may be interested in, or if not, if you're like me, you prefer to have the console option and the handheld option at the same time, we still will have the regular model still to this day. So for those that are looking forward for the Switch Lite, this will be released September 20th, which is conveniently alongside that of Link's Awakening, as well as Pokemon Sword and Shield, which comes out later in November. So for anyone who are interested for the Nintendo Switch Lite, there you go. For those that aren't interested in the Lite, we still have the regular version. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of make this video real quickly talking about my opinions and thoughts about this, because on the one hand, I can understand, but on the other hand, I felt like they kind of removed part of the consumer aspect that liked it to Switch, but they're not ignoring it. They're just more or less making the system more consumer friendly for other people in general. Like obviously, like I said, people who just want a handheld only system, and this is obviously more affordable for them. So anyway though guys, what's your opinion? What's your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments below, and I shall see you in the next video. Take care guys.